All right, everyone, listen up. Hey, guys. Woo! Okay, so I've given you around 10 minutes. We only have maybe another 5-7 minutes before we want to move on to section 2. So if I could get Albert, or one of you three, to read out your response, tell us the question and what the text is about. Read out the response. Guys?
2010 HSC, text 3, it is Beth, not May or Phoebe, who understands my exile. How does this text portray friendship as an alternative source of belonging?
Alright, can you repeat that question so everyone can hear it?
It is Beth, not May or Phoebe, who understands my exile. How does this text portray friendship as an alternative source of belonging?
So you guys all know this one, right? Yeah? Read us the response.
Belonging does not necessarily need to rely on family. In this text, language is used by the author to convey the important part friends play in one's sense of belonging. Since there have, quote, when there have been times when we've been asked if we're sisters, end quote, personal anecdotes are used to signify the closeness between the speaker and a friend. The physical and emotional closeness is further exemplified in, quote, Beth and I are of one skin, end quote, the metaphor contributing to their sense of familiarity. Their understanding of each other is epitomized in, quote, it is only to Beth I can say that we represent to each other the paths taken and not taken, end quote, where the use of exclusive language to differentiate Beth from everyone else, including the speaker's own family. Thus it is evident how close the speaker is to a friend and how friendship can be an alternative source for belonging to family.
Yeah. How many marks was that? 3?
Yeah.
3. What did you guys think of that? That's pretty good. Like, he had the quotes, he had the techniques, he had the summing up, he had the study sets. So I guess that's what you want to be doing. Kevin, one of you three could read out your response. Tell us the text, the paper, and the question. Yep, but just the paper first is 2012 HSC. They're doing text 4. Guys, what's the question, Ben?
The question is, analyze how imagery is used to capture the author's intense experience of returning to his hometown. The text is memoir extract adapted from myself passing by a memoir in moments.
Alright, guys, listen up. So this is just explaining how imagery is used
to capture the author's intense experience of returning to his hometown.
Alright, take it away.
The author feels predominantly alienated and disconnected from the chaotic urban noises of Berlin. Auditory imagery in the phrase cacophony of hissing and rumbling, echoing announcements suggests his disaffection from the hellish Berlin subway environment, thus capturing his intense feeling of isolation. The vehicular allusion to external traffic causing a wreckage of sleep and the bestial image of metal peas also expresses his sense of disorientation and disruption of inner peace within the urban movement. This is juxtaposed to the intensely positive auditory images and stimulus of soothing sound, sweet music, soothing sound, sweet, and great music the author hears, which ultimately soothes his unease.
That's it? No, that's fine. That's fine. How many marks was that? 3. What did you guys think? Good use of techniques. The sentences flow well, and you introduced the theme well as well. Okay, one more in the back corner there. You guys could read out. They're doing CASSA 2014. If you could read out the question and then the answer.
The question is, how is imagery used to convey the author's attitude to belonging? The composer's attitude towards belonging encompasses a sense of connection to his natural environment as an escape from disconnection and detachment experienced in his family and childhood. The ability to connect to place is shown in the use of imagery in cumulative listening and sensory imagery in the constant din of thousands of cicadas, clicking of glasses, and relaxed trolling of magpies, emphasizing the composer's ability to build a sense of connection to his surroundings. To have a anaphora in the simile, creating the image of his immediate natural environment. It was like another world. It was another world. When our hearts connect, his sense of belonging to water supported by the Hyman Valley language in affirming the closest sense of place.
3 marks as well?
Yeah.
Good. All right, moving on to section 2. Are there any more questions for section 1, just briefly? No? All right, good. Section 2, everyone. This is the creative writing. Put your hand up if you have difficulty with this. Oh, a lot of you. Can I ask you why you find creative writing so difficult? Is it the execution and getting ready for the exam? Or is it just writing the creative writings in the first place? Just writing them in general? Okay.
That's also reading, because if you read stuff.
Okay. All right, guys. So, everyone. You mentioned that the biggest difficulty you guys have is writing the creative writings in the first place. Is that right? Yeah. Planning them, getting them ready. What are your ideas at the moment for blogging? Like, are there any key reminding things that you keep writing about in your creative writing stories that you...
Generally, I try to write a story that has, because you know how there's some of the tenets of the blogging.
Yes.
Try to write one that appeals to maybe about half of them. So I did one that's about a person returning to a small community after being in jail and not really fitting in there. And so that could sort of work with belonging to people and to place and to culture. Culture.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm planning on writing another one, so it's the other half.
Yeah. That's good. And that's working out for you?
Yep. So far on the road.
Is it double N?
No, that's not T-N-E-T-S. Replace the A N with E. Replace the A N with an E.
Replace the A.
N with an E. Just the two, get rid of the two letters.
Oh.
Just social hierarchical Google, right?
Jeffrey, what troubles you about this?
Like when I have an idea, right, and I'm trying to write it,
Guys? Jeffrey.
the idea itself and not to get the concept of the comes to actually writing it emotively and having a
So you guys are okay with incorporating the concept of belonging in your pieces, yeah? Relatively, yeah? So I guess it's more the skill of writing, which is the problem for a lot of us. Like Albert said, and I guess you guys don't have a lot of time at the moment because you're studying for everything else, it's a good idea to read widely in order to get a better understanding of what creative writing is like. But that may not be the best option at the moment, considering we're studying for all these other exams. To tackle that problem, there are a few tips, I guess, we could explore when we write these creative writings. And this is all tips in regards to framing your narrative, so you have a set piece in order to focus your piece within as well as around. So, frameworks. So, guys, when you're, I guess, choosing what you want to write about and how you want to write about it, maybe choose ideally only one or two characters and one or two locations, settings, or time periods, because you don't want to be going all over the place and having to describe different people, describe different places multiple times. Just focus on these two. Tony?
Do you have any template ideas for belonging?
Template ideas, as in like
Like,
basic ideas to write a story on?
yeah, like some themes that are likable. Like the journey or the theme, something like that.
Ideas include maybe social alienation is a very common one. So individuals who may not fit into society because they hold different beliefs, physical deformities, or other things like that. You want to create a story that you can relate to and that you know how to write about. So relate issues maybe to your culture, maybe relate issues to friendships and things like that. How many of you do extension here? So about half. How are you guys going with that, creative writing wise?
You can use both.
Yeah. The thing with extension students is that you can use the same piece for both belonging as well as extension, so long as you're able to cut it down and change the themes around. But other than that, I think it's important just to allocate some time just to focus on creative writing. Don't worry about the essay. Just sit down, maybe with an original piece of stimulus you can find on the internet. Base your creative writing piece on a motif or an object or something like that, which may catalyze memories, that kind of stuff, and just go from there. technique-wise, writing your creative writings and transferring them into the exam. How many of you had problems with that in the last trials? You had a piece of creative writing and you had difficulty shaping it to the stimulus, into the question. Not many of you, because it was a pretty straightforward question, right? Okay. How did you guys include the stimulus? There was a quote as a motif, basically, as a motif. Guys, a stimulus, particularly in navigating the global, and I'm sorry that I keep referring back to this, is a stimulus could be an object, could be a quote, could be anything that you have to include. Now, the thing that you have to remember with stimulus is that when you put them into creative writing, they are central to the structure of the story, as well as central to the theme of belonging. They may not necessarily be central to the plot of the story. Now, what I mean by this is that your motif, for example, let it be a teddy bear that someone picks up and reminds them about their childhood. This teddy bear can be important to structure. Say, for example, in the first half of your narrative, someone explores or finds this teddy bear, and then that catalyzes their memories, and then it comes back in a circular nature towards the end, where they have the teddy bear, and then they go into the future and whatever. It's also essential to theme, because this motif, this has to catalyze, and this has to show the readers and the markers a concept of belonging. It may not necessarily be important and relevant to to the plot, because all you need to use stimulus for is to show that you have answered the question and to address the sense of belonging. Research. How many people do research for their stories? And how many creative writings are you planning to write for belonging? Two or three? Improvise. The thing to do for these 2 creative writings, as Alex said before, is to kind of address different aspects of belonging in both of them, as well as to position them slightly differently. You may want to write one creative writing based on a heavy amount of research, so in order to create a political atmosphere, to create historical context and that kind of stuff, and base your belonging scenario within that research. And the other one may just be an anecdote, something not as in-depth, but still explores concepts of belonging. And in general, research-wise, in order to create a realistic atmosphere, you should incorporate at least maybe half an hour or 45 minutes of research that you've done on the internet, just to build up the scene, build up the context, in order to make your story more realistic, as well as more engaging with the marker. Are there any more questions about creative writing aside from how to write the creative writing?
What's average length?
1,000, 1,200. How long are your responses normally? 1.1K, 800, 900, below 1,000, right?
3 pages.
What did you write about?
Guys, yeah, we'll hand them back out later. Yeah, so 900, 800, 900, 1,000 words for your creative, and then maybe 1.1, maybe 1.2 if you're stretching it for your essay. Remember, it's all about quality, not quantity. Do you want to take a 5-minute break and then we'll head on to the final section?
I'll just tell you now.
Yeah.
It was the one of the plant.